Good morning, 5th grade. Today we're going to continue reading in our novel, Esperanza Rising. Before we get started, we have a fill-in-the-blank summary. Get ready to fill in the blanks. Esperanza yelled at Miguel, and he left. Isabel finds out that she did not get Queen of May. To cheer her up, Esperanza gives her the doll that her father gave her for her birthday. Esperanza finds out that her mother is getting better. Mama finally came home. Esperanza confesses that she thinks Miguel's leaving was her fault. Esperanza goes to show her mother all of the money orders she has saved up for Abuelita. She discovered that they were all gone. Press pause to write down your answers and play when you're ready for the focus question. It says, how does the structure of Esperanza Rising help me to understand how Esperanza has changed? And we're going to be working on comparing and contrasting the beginning chapter and the end chapter of the text to figure out what they tell us about how Esperanza has changed. Our vocabulary words for today are supervisor, and that is someone who leads an activity or like a director. So this man is the woman's supervisor. The next word is passenger, and that is a traveler on a plane or a bus. So these people are passengers. They're riding on the plane. And then the last one is vision, and that's when you feel like you see something in like a dream or a trance compared to like a supernatural experience. This person is having a vision of heaven. Go ahead and turn the page. And we're going to read the last part of chapter 13. Here we go. Page 225. We're going to start at the bottom, and we're going to use our CSPS strategy. Let's get started reading on page 225. Esperanza kept her mind off Miguel by working hard and concentrating on Isabel. Oh, nope, top of the page. Sorry, I meant to start up here. The next morning, Miguel was gone. He had told his father he was going to Northern California to look for work on the railroad. Hortensia was confused and worried that he would leave so suddenly, but Alfonso reassured her. He is determined. He's 17 now. He can take care of himself. Esperanza was too ashamed to tell anyone what was said in the vineyard, and she secretly knew Miguel's leaving was her fault. When she saw Hortensia's anxiety, Esperanza felt the heavy responsibility for his safety. She went to Papa's roses, and when she saw the first bloom, her heart ached because she wished she could run to tell Miguel. Please, Our Lady, she prayed, do not let anything happen to him, or I will never be able to forgive myself for the things that I said. Esperanza kept her mind off Miguel by working hard and concentrating on Isabel. Stop right there because we have information about both of our characters. In the first box, we would say, after his fight with Esperanza, Miguel left home to look for work on the railroad in Northern California. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for the second character. And then for 1B, we would write about Esperanza, and we would say Esperanza feels guilty for Miguel leaving and tries to keep herself busy so she doesn't think about it. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready to keep reading. Go ahead and turn the page. When Esperanza saw a lug of early peaches come in the shed, she set aside a bag for herself to bring home. She had just had to have them, especially today. As she walked through a row of cabins after work, she could see Isabel in the distance waiting for her. Isabel sat up straight, primly with her small hands folded in her lap, her eyes searching the row. When she saw Esperanza, she jumped up and ran toward her. As she got closer, Esperanza could see the tear streaks on her cheeks. Isabel threw her arms around Esperanza's waist. "I did not win Queen of May," she said, sobbing into the folds of her shirt. "I had the best grades, but the teacher said she chose on more than just grades." Esperanza wanted desperately to make it up to her. She picked her up and held her. "I'm sorry, Isabel. I'm so sorry they did not choose you." She put her down and took her hand, and they walked back to the cabin. "Have you told the others, your mother?" "No," she sniffled. "They're not home yet. I was supposed to go to Irene and Melina's, but I wanted to wait for you." We'll stop right there because we have information about the setting and the first problem. For the setting, we know that it's almost summertime because Esperanza takes home a bag of peaches. So in box 2, we would write, "It's almost summer and Esperanza is sorting peaches." Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for the quote. And we'll get to the quote later on. In box 3A, you would write the first problem about Isabel. You would write, "Isabel did not get the Queen of May, and she's very upset because she feels like she deserved it." Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready to keep reading. We're looking for the solution for the first problem. Top of page 227. Esperanza took her into the cabin and sat on the bed next to her. "Isabel, it does not matter who won. Yes, you would have made a beautiful queen, but that would have lasted only one day. A day goes by fast, Isabel, and then it's over." Esperanza bent down, pulled out her valise from under the bed, and opened it. The only thing left inside was the porcelain doll. She had shown it to Isabel many times, telling her the story of how Papa had given it to her. Although a little dusty, the doll still looked lovely, its eyes hopeful like Isabel's usually were. "I want you to have something that will last more than one day," said Esperanza. She lifted the doll from the valise and handed it to Isabel, "to keep as your own." Isabel's eyes widened. "Oh, no, Esperanza," she said, her voice still shaky and her face wet with tears. "Your papa gave her to you." Esperanza stroked Isabel's hair. "Do you think my papa would want her buried inside a valise all this time, with no one playing with her? Look at her. She must be lonely. She's even getting dusty." Turn the page. "And look at me. I'm much too old for dolls. People would make fun of me if I carried her around, and you know how I hate it when people laugh at me. Isabel, you would be doing me and my papa a favor if you would love her." "Really?" said Isabel. "Yes," said Esperanza, "and I think that you should take her to school and show all your friends. Don't you agree? I'm sure none of them, not even the Queen of May, ever owned anything as beautiful." Isabel cradled the doll in her arms, her tears drying on her face. "Esperanza, I prayed and prayed about being Queen of May. Our Lady knew that being queen would not last, but the doll would be yours for a long time." Isabel nodded, a small smile beginning. "What would your mamma say?" Esperanza hugged her. "I have a meeting with the doctor this week, so if he lets me, I will ask her, but I think Mamma would be very proud that she belongs to you." Then, grinning, she held out the bag of peaches. "I hate asparagus, too." We'll stop right there because we have information about our first solution. In box 4A, we would write, "To comfort Isabel, Esperanza gives her papa's doll and tells her to take it to school to show all her friends." Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for the quote for the setting. And for the quote for the setting, this lets us know that it's time for peaches. You would write in the second part of box 2. Then, grinning, she held out the bag of peaches. I hate asparagus too. All right, we're going to keep reading, looking out for our second problem. We're at the top of page 229. Esperanza and Hortensia waited in the doctor's office. Hortensia sat and tapped her foot, and Esperanza paced, looking at the diplomas on the wall. Finally, the door swung open and the doctor walked in, then scooted behind his desk and sat down. Esperanza, I have good news, he said. Your mother's health has improved, and she will be well enough to leave the hospital in a week. She's still a little depressed, but I think she needs to be around all of you. Please remember, though, that once she goes home, she will have to rest to build up her strength. There's still a chance of relapse. Esperanza started laughing and crying at the same time. Mama was coming home. For the first time in 5 months since Mama had entered the hospital, Esperanza's heart felt lighter. Keep going. The doctor smiled. She's been asking for her crochet needles and yarn. You can see her now for a few minutes if you like. Esperanza ran down the hospital halls with Hortensia behind her to Mama's bedside, where they found her sitting up in bed. Esperanza flung her arms around her neck. Mama! Mama hugged her, then held out her at arm's length and studied her. Oh, Esperanza, how you've grown! You look so mature. Mama still looked thin, but not so weak. Esperanza felt her forehead, and there was no fever. Mama laughed at her. It wasn't a strong laugh, but Esperanza loved the sound. Hortensia pronounced that her color was good and promised to purchase more yarn so that it would be waiting when she came home. You would not believe your daughter, Ramona. She always gets called to work in the sheds. She cooks now and takes care of babies as well as their own mother. Mama reached up, pulled Esperanza to her chest and hugged her. I'm so proud of you. Esperanza hugged Mama back. When the visiting hour was over, she hated to leave but kissed Mama and said goodbye, promising to tell her everything as soon as she came home. All right, and so on this page, Mama comes home and everyone comes by to visit her, and go to the top of page 232. That night, Isabel showed Mama the doll and how she was taking care of it, and Mama told her that she thought Isabel and the doll belonged together. When it was time for bed, Esperanza carefully lay down next to Mama, hoping she wouldn't disturb her. But Mama moved closer and put her arms around Esperanza and held her tightly. Mama, Miguel is gone, she whispered. I know, mija, Hortensia told me. But Mama, it was my fault. I got angry and told him he was still a peasant, and then he left. It could not be all your fault. I'm sure he knows you didn't mean it. He'll come back soon. He couldn't be away from his family for long. They were quiet. Mama, we've been away from Abuelita for almost a year, said Esperanza. I know, said Mama quietly. It doesn't seem possible. But I have saved money. I will bring her soon. Do you want to see how much? Before Mama could answer, Esperanza turned on the light, checking to make sure she hadn't woken Isabel. She tiptoed to the closet and took out her valise. She grinned at Mama, knowing how proud she would be at all the money orders. She opened the bag and her mouth dropped open. She couldn't believe what she saw. She tipped the valise upside down and shook it harder. It was empty. The money orders were gone. Stop right there because we have information about the second problem. In box 3B, you would write, when Esperanza goes to show Mama the money orders she's been saving up to bring Abuelita to the United States, the money orders are not there. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for 4B. And in 4B, you would write, Mama comes home from the hospital and Esperanza is very happy and hopeful. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for the paragraph. What new challenge does Esperanza face, and how does she respond?